roll off then, Robin.
I'm going to use my Stormcast dice.
Well, I've rolled a 1.
I rolled a 5.
Well, there you go, fitting for Stormcast. So, you will get to choose, as it is in a game of Spearhead, who is the attacker or defender for this episode. Attacker gets to do the intro, defender gets to do the outro, which we're both terrible at, so I'm assuming you're being the attacker.
I will be the attacker and I will do the intro.
Welcome everyone to All Out AOS Presents Tip of the Spear.
We are doing the Stormcast Eternal, the Vigilant Brotherhood, the newer of the two. Technically, obviously the Inashra one was the Vanguard box previously. This is the custom-built Spearhead one that came out with Skating Tide.
I feel like, even though obviously the other one was out beforehand, this is the original Spearhead, in the sense that when I first ever saw anything Spearhead related, it was this and it was Skaven.
Yes.
And that's kind of what the beginning was. So it feels fitting. And did you know that this is episode 20? And our very first episode was the Yanastra Spearhead. So it feels quite fitting that episode 20 is the other Stormcast one.
What Warhammer have you been doing this week? Because I have not done any.
Well, I have played 4 Spearhead games in our local league with my Blades of Khorne, the original one. I played 2 against Nurgle, which I think is not a good matchup for me because their ability to do mortals on my high-saving units is not brilliant. And I played 2 against Seraphon, which is not brilliant with me because big scary dinosaurs.
Yeah, big scary dinosaurs that can just bypass your good saving units just by eating them.
So both of those games I was going, oh, this could be tough. The Nurgle games were very much I managed to be on the objectives and score points that way and slowly die. I literally got tabled the first game by the end of it. And the second game, I think I only maybe had like 4 or 5 models left. So definitely losing in combat against them with a combination of their mortal abilities. But just scored enough points to hold out for the win. And then against Seraphon, I lost my first game when the big Carnosaur just charged up the board and ripped into me, basically. And I failed a few charges and couldn't get back in points-wise. And the second game, I kind of went first and charged into them with my cavalry and managed to hold it back. I managed to kill the Carnosaur in 2 battle rounds, which I was quite happy with. And then he brought it back with the Final Breath card.
Yep. That's about right.
Unfortunately. Managed to hold off for the win in that one. So, I'm top of the league, but you have like 4 games in hand of me and are only like 2 wins away from probably overtaking me, unfortunately. But it does mean I'm almost done. I only have Sylvaneth to go and our last game.
So you got 1 more loss.
Well, you're going first.
Yeah.
So probably.
Deepkin on going first is not a fun matchup for the opponent.
I genuinely think I've just got to hope you just roll bad.
I mean, it's possible. As much as we pick that Spearhead up, I have had combat rounds where I've gone in, especially if you've got an okay save, and I've just gone, well, I rolled a little under, and you saved it up, so I've not done a lot. And now we're just kind of sat in combat. It basically, the Spearhead, I need a really good first turn, but it has enough tools to make that first turn pretty consistent. And yeah, I have not done any Spearhead this week.
Well, I suppose we've been doing a bit of filming and we've also been doing a lot of podcasting with the hundreds of new Spearheads that seem to have come out in the last month.
Yeah. So, moving on to the actual Stormcast Eternal Vigilant Brotherhood Spearhead. The way they've kind of built it is sort of probably a really beginner-friendly Spearhead that kind of has a little bit of everything. So it's probably also a good one for teaching without overloading the rules. You do get 4 units in the army. You get your general, the Lord Vigilant on a Grifthound Stalker, so your big cavalry hero. 1 Lord Veritant, your priest. You get 3 prosecutors and 5 liberators. So not a massive model count. It also struggles on control. Outside of the Liberators, because they have a buff to control. It is definitely an army that goes, if I'm fighting on an objective, I want to make sure you die.
Yeah. And I do think it is one that, like you just said about only 4 units, it does mean that there's only 4 things to learn and have to try and memorise, so you can speed up your games quite quickly with only the 4.
It's Stormcast, so all you need to remember is, did I roll a 3? Yes, I'm probably doing the thing. Because spoilers, We're going to be saying 3 a lot in this, because I don't think there's a single attack, wound, or save that is not a 3.
But also their abilities are quite nicely spread as well.
Yeah.
So you've literally got 2 in the hero phase, 1 in the charge phase, 1 at the end of the turn, 1 in combat. And then you've got a passive ability. So that's again, quite nice for learning everything and getting everything down. I find that some players, when they haven't got... we've got an army that doesn't have an end of turn ability, they literally go, right, combat's done, and they start scoring the points.
Yes.
And I'm a Nurgle player, and I go, whoa, my turn's starting. Here's the disease time. Here's the mortals. So I do think that the fact that you'll get used to doing things in lots of different phases really helps that as well.
Yeah. Moving on to the battle traits. So this army has had an errata, so make sure you're using the app. You've got the Shield of Azir. Pick a friendly unit. Until the start of your next turn, that unit has a 5-up ward. One of Stormcast's main weaknesses is mortals, because they are high saves, kind of not low health, but not massive amount of health with their models.
Because that many models on the board, yeah.
So mortals, if someone can do 3 mortals, that's actually really bad for the army. It really hinders them. Previously, they could only do it once, and a once per battle turn like that, it's a little awkward. You could potentially put it on a unit in the hero phase, fail the charge, and then your opponent decide not to charge it, and then that was just a wasted once per game.
Yeah.
Now it's just changed to once per turn.
Is it still only in your hero phase?
Yes.
Because that's obviously the unfortunate thing. If you go second and you get charged, it would have been nice to have that 5-up ward. It would have been nice if it was any hero phase.
Yeah.
But then it does last until the start of your next turn, so if you doubled, you've still got the benefit from it on that unit.
It covers one of their main weaknesses, which is what battle traits should do.
And a 5-up ward is a lot better than a 6-up ward.
Oh, yeah. 5-up ward's better than no ward. So their other battle trait, this is still just a once per battle, your combat phase. A unit can charge even if it's used a run ability.
Especially for something like your prosecutors that get 3 dice on the charge.
I mean,
they could cover basically the whole board.
They have a maximum reach of 36 inches. Although you're probably not running with them, because then it means they can't shoot. And they have quite a nice shooting attack.
The board is 30 inches.
Yeah. So they could literally probably get from corner to corner. But that would also require you to roll a 6 on your run, and then 3 6s on your charge. So, unfortunately, I think if you're planning that in your game, you're probably not winning that game.
But it's just a fun thought to have.
Yeah. The likelihood is you're probably doing it on your Liberators turn 1 to get them in.
Yeah. Or your general, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty solid battle traits. Nothing like super complicated. It's kind of why I think it's lended to beginners. It's the first Spearhead. It might also be the fact that they didn't know what Spearhead was going to possibly be, because I imagine it was the first one designed as well. So it's fairly simple.
Yeah, and obviously they wanted to show off new models.
Yeah.
I think that was obviously a big part of it. Or every single unit here is a new model?
So the Liberators and the Prosecutors are older models but newer sculpts.
Yeah. So they had existed before, but you get these new models.
Yeah.
There's the other two.
I believe the 2 heroes are new.
Yeah.
Problem with Stormcast is they have about more heroes than most armies have units. So it does get a little confusing at times. But I feel they're both new.
And all the names are very similar as well.
Yes. Half of them either start with Knight and then the other half start with Lord. Moving on to their regiment abilities. Obviously they've got 2. They've got a once per turn reaction. You declare a retreat reaction. The unit using the retreat ability, no mortal damage is inflicted on that unit by the retreat ability. In addition, the unit can still use charge abilities the turn, even though it used a retreat ability. Only once per battle, so not brilliant. But again, it covers something. It stops mortals, which you don't want to be taking with this army. And it covers the fact that you only have 4 units, so if you potentially get charged turn 1, you've got a little bit of maneuverability. With something like the Prosecutors, they can retreat 12. They're getting over the enemies really easily.
Because they got fly.
They got fly. Again, maybe not necessarily brilliant on the Liberators, because they're going to maybe have to shuffle around. If they're charging, they're probably only then getting into the same unit they're already in combat in. But with the Prosecutors and the Hero, it's actually a pretty useful ability. Their other regiment ability, Blaze of Glory. Once per battle, any combat phase, pick a friendly unit that is in combat until the end of that phase. Each time a model in that unit is slain, make a vengeance roll of d6 on a 4-up, inflict 1 mortal on the enemy unit in combat with that unit. So, again, only once per battle. But it's any combat phase, so you could do it in your opponents. But unfortunately, the most you get in there is 5.
Yep.
That's your Liberators. And if you do it on rule of average, you're only getting half. So that's 2.5 mortals for your full squad of Liberators. That's a pretty crushing blow.
Yeah, I don't think either are particularly good abilities. But I feel like the ability to get out of a combat and then charge, I think, is probably stronger. If I'm thinking of Spearhead, where it is about scoring cards, and that one could score you a card.
Yeah.
That you're stuck in a combat, you're not scoring. If you've got a unit and you've only got 1 health on it, and you want to just retreat it out onto an objective somewhere, you can do, and not take the damage, even if you don't end up charging it afterwards. Whereas the other one...
The best you're doing is 5 mortals.
Yeah. The game that I had against the Seraphon, the Carnosaur was alive on maybe like 2 health, and he was like, but if I attack that unit, every time I kill a model, I take on a 4-up, I take a mortal. Can I not attack? And I was like, no, you got to. So sometimes it does dissuade people from going at that unit if they know that, is all I can think maybe. But in general, out of the 2, I'd probably be more picking the strike where needed. Maybe look at it and go, they've not got any wards, that one's slightly better.
If you know, or you've got a good idea that you're going second, and you go, they've got a big smashy cavalry unit that's probably going to smash straight into me turn 1. I'll set my Liberators up in front, and then I'll hope that they don't tag anything else, and I should do some mortals back. And then on my turn, everything can charge in on the slightly weakened unit.
But your Liberators are reinforced, so you could have them out as a sacrificial unit for that horrible unit to smash into, if they do have +1 damage on the charge.
Well, what kind of self-respected cavalry unit doesn't have +1 to charges?
Yeah, tell me about it.
And not brilliant regiment abilities, but I would say that the retreating and charging is better. Enhancements then. So these are on your general. They're all pretty simple for the most part. Give your general a 5-up ward. Makes him a bit more defensive. I think if you work on average, it pushes his health to like 11. Another really simple, nice one. Your general's Hallowed Great Axe has crit mortals.
Ooh, that's nice.
Typically it's the one I normally like to pick, because obviously it's just a really nice bit of damage.
So obviously important, it's not his companion attack, that's only his attack.
Yes.
And he does get 5 dice, so you are unlikely to get it. But in a few rounds of combat, and the fact it's 2 damage, that's just 2 damage going through.
Yeah.
So you're not going to ward that's there. I think that is a really nice ability.
Moving on to the Quicksilver Draft. So like actually in the main game, it's one of my favourite things to take, because it just means that your general gets strike first this phase.
Ooh. Strike
first, very powerful. Again, a really simple one. It's also any combat phase, so your opponent charges you. You go, great, I get to fight first.
And you don't have to declare it till the combat phase. So it's not like you go and, I'm going to give it in the hero, I've got to give it in the hero phase. And they go, okay, I just won't charge that unit then. Like, you see, almost surprising them with it, going, right, you've charged him, but he's going to get to hit you first.
Yeah, it's a nice bit of utility. You do it in your turn. 2 of your units are fighting before 1 of theirs, because you get your strike first and then you strike normal. And then his last one, and technically his most confusing one, I suppose. Roll a dice for each enemy unit contesting the same objective as your general. On a 2-up, subtract the roll from the control score of that enemy unit this turn. Again, it's only once per battle, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that will be pivotal and win you the game because you held on to an objective when you wouldn't. Or it won't. Yeah, or it won't.
He's only 2 control score. So it's nice that it can affect multiple units. But if he's in combat with more than 2 units,
you could make both, if you rolled 6s with both of them, and they were only like 5 models in each unit, they've now got a control score of 2, and he's got 2, you're still not beating
him. That's what I mean.
If you're holding on, though, if they were banking on taking it. But that is a crazy roll. Out of all 4, that one seems the worst just because of the situational nature of it.
I would say that one, for it to be a good pick, would just be end of turn.
What would you put as your next one?
Put the null pendant, so the control score 1 lower.
Yeah.
And then realistically, all 3 of them are all pretty good.
Yeah, they are.
Some of them can be slightly situational. Like maybe if there's an army that does a lot of mortals, you might go for the ward over that.
Yep.
Or if you're facing another elite army that has really good saves but no wards,
yep,
then you go for the mortals.
Yeah.
And then strike first isn't situation, so I'd maybe put strike first, because it's always useful to have strike first. At the end of the day, you could give it crit mortars and not roll a single 6.
You could give it a 5
Like
award,
ward,
not only
and not
5s
really a
up.
single 5.
It's really nice, it's just guaranteed.
There's no roll, there's no anything to it, and your generals are good, decent combat generals, so...
That is what I was about to say. If there's a general in the game that you want to give strike first, he is a very good choice for that.
Yeah.
It's a shame the Slaves to Darkness one is your general just has strike first. Just don't roll for it whole game.
Yeah.
But obviously I do think this general is better than he is.
So we go in strike first number 1.
Yeah.
Ward and mortals army dependent, but a solid second place.
Yep.
And then the null pendant last.
But they are a nice one where I actually look at them and go, all of them, I could see a time when you might choose them and they might be really pivotal. Unlike some that I really go, well, those two are terrible and these are right up there. I'd say they're all pretty good, which is nice. I think because the general's good, it helps make them good.
So we've talked a lot about the general. We'll actually go into explaining them. So the Lord Vigilant on Griff Stalker. Moves 12, so pretty mobile. 8 health. Pretty tanky, 3+ save, and 2 control score. For a combat hero, pretty tanky, and pretty mobile really as well, which you'd expect from a guy on a giant griffin. Obviously no ward unless you give him one. That's sort of his only main weakness. He does get 5 attacks with his Hallowed Great Axe, 3s and 3s, rend 2, damage 2. So pretty solid combat attack. It would have been nice for him maybe to have a few more. 5 dice, even with 3s and 3s. If you roll 2 1s on that first attack.
I don't think you could give him more, because that is, essentially, he is an infantry hero riding something, which makes him cavalry. But if you think of typical infantry heroes in Spearhead, I don't think many of them have got more than 5.
No, the typical one is 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2.
So he's better than that because he's got 2 rend. Yeah. I feel like you can't give him too much more. And the fact they could be crit mortals as well. If you give him too many, that is, you're picking that one and you hope you're rolling lots of 6s.
He does also have his companion attacks. So he gets 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage. So to be fair, actually pretty good companion attacks as well, really.
And confusingly, the only time you'll have to roll a 4 on a hit.
Yeah.
In the whole army.
Yeah.
But it's nice that that's 1 rend, 2 damage. You know, if you get a few of them off, especially if something's not got a good save, he could really rip into a unit.
I mean, that's a potential of 16 damage. It's not the most, but also pretty consistent. He has 2 abilities. Once per turn, any combat phase. Pick a friendly non-hero unit wholly within 12 of this unit to be the target. The target can use 2 fight abilities this phase. After the first is used, however, the target has strike last for the rest of the phase. So he can essentially pick the prosecutors or the liberators to have fight twice, which is a very strong ability, fight twice. Again, neither the liberators or the prosecutors are the most killy units in the world, but they are pretty good in combat. And wholly within 12 obviously isn't brilliant, but he's got a pretty big base and he's fairly mobile, so you should be able to get that to work. Especially if you're going turn 1, you should be able to, with the prosecutor's good movement, at the very least get them in quite comfortably. So overall, that's not a bad ability really for him to have.
No, you know, I'm picturing you doing that and him playing the Sand and Bone card for fighting twice. Oh. Imagine all of that fighting 4 times. I know your general's taking D3 mortals, which is not good. Maybe you give him the ward so you'd hopefully ward some of them away, but still that would kill quite a few things, especially if you've got a full squad of liberators attacking.
So give him strike first. He goes, pick the prosecutors, play the card. So yeah, he gets to go first. You get to activate him, then the prosecutors, and then they get to mop up whatever's left.
Yeah.
They're not the most killy army in the world, so it's as much as that sounds pretty broken, and it is, there's still a chance that stuff's still left on the board at the end of it. The hero doesn't get a massive amount of dice, so he can whiff a little bit. And the prosecutors, again, they can do a fair bit of damage. They're only damage 1. So the most they're doing in a combat is 9 damage, which again is unlikely. And his other ability is plan the attack, pick an objective you do not control for the rest of the turn, Add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly units that target enemy units contesting that objective.
That's really nice.
That is pretty good. It sounds like a very good ability, but actually, when you break it down, going from 3s to 2s doesn't actually increase your odds massively as you'd expect. Obviously, it does. It is better. Any pluses to hits, brilliant. But an army that's already hitting on 3s, that actually isn't a massive increase.
Do you know what I'm thinking? Should have chose him for my general in our make your own spearhead game.
He's a pretty good general, to be fair.
I was thinking if you chose an army that's really good but hits on 4s, and you gave them that, so they're then fighting an objective on 4s, and then you're making one of them fight twice.
Yeah,
that would be really, really good.
That would be pretty broken. And obviously, the only sort of real downside is you've got to pick an objective. If there's an opponent not standing on an objective, then it doesn't benefit you. There's no like some crafty way where you go on they have to be on the objective.
Yeah. But then,
I mean, the
they
likelihood
probably are because they want to contest it and hold it away from you. So you got a good chance.
And at the end of the day, there's no range to it. So as long as your hero is on the board, you just pick one. So likelihood is you'll be using it most rounds as long as your general's alive.
Yeah. As a whole package, there he is a very, very good hero.
Yeah, probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, I think so.
Moving on to your other hero, the Lord Veritant, who's also a pretty good hero, to be fair. Moves 5, 6 health.
Won't get eaten by a carnosaur.
Yeah, notably, it means that it can't have any kind of roll higher than the health characteristic. 2 control, pretty standard, and the 3+ save, which is very good for a wizard or a priest.
And with 6 health, I know he's not going to ward, but that's going to survive some attacks.
Yeah.
That you'd expect him, most little priests or wizard, not to survive. He will survive.
You can always give it a 5-up ward as well. It gets 2 sets of attacks, but the first one, Staff of Abjuration, 1 attack, 3s and 3s, rend 1, but damage 3.
So that is like a huge bonus. I got this through.
I can't name many units that are damage 3 as standard.
I think the hero from the...
Some of the giants are.
Caradron Overlords.
Yeah.
But other than that, Ynastra?
Yeah, I think Ynastra's damage 3. But there's a big difference between Ynastra and your wizard. But that's not their only attack, because they also have the Judgment Blade, which they get 3 attacks. Again, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, and then D3 damage. With +1 rend for wizards and +1 rend for priests. Because obviously in the lore, this is like, there's a wizard hunter kind of thing. So that's why it gets
I don't think he does it very well. It's got a blindfold over his eyes.
Well, can feel the magic. So overall, that's a pretty good fighty wizard. For a wizard, it's pretty good. Obviously, it's not like amazing because you're only rolling 4 dice. And 3s and 3s, you should get some of it through.
And then could just spike and do a lot, or like you say, you miss and doesn't do a lot. So don't rely on him for doing damage. But don't be scared to throw him up in a combat.
Me and Duncan have a battle report on this that may come out at some point, and while the general that there is in combat with wasn't exactly the best combat general in the world, I won that combat in the end, I believe.
He was standing on like a spiky disc that could do damage, and I think he just didn't do anything.
I just kept saving.
Yeah.
Does have 2 abilities. It has the passive Sense Unholy Sorcery. This unit's Griff Crow is a token. This unit has a 5+ ward while the Griff Crow is on the battlefield. If you make an unmodified ward roll of a 1 for this unit, remove the Griff Crow from the battlefield. Making it just that little bit more tanky.
A little bit more tanky, you're going to survive a bit longer. If they're shooting at you, you've got that extra bit of protection as well.
Yeah. Guarantee that round 1 someone will shoot, they'll get 1 damage through and you'll roll a 1. But there's also going to be the game where you never roll a 1. It's a nice little extra which covers this army's main weakness. Your other ability, the kind of priest ability, is your hero phase. Pick a visible enemy unit within 12 of this unit to be the target, then make a chanting roll of a d6. On a 3+, roll a dice for each model in the target unit. For each 5+, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. Weird thing about this is it's probably one of the only prayers
to do damage.
Well, just the prayers in general in Spearhead. I can't think of another one off the top of my head.
Yeah, because the armies I think they've got prayers is Fire Slayers, and they've not got a priest in their one.
Yep.
The Blades of Khorne have a priest.
Do you do a chanting roll or do you do a wizard?
Yeah, he's a priest. On a 4-up, he does D3 mortal damage to an enemy unit. And you can give him a prayer to, on a 3-up, heal D3. So they're both prayers. But I can't think of many others.
No, I can't think of many others. Depends the army. You're facing giants. It's a bit pointless. But, you're facing... Most armies has at least a squad of 5. Quite a lot have squads of 10s. So if you're facing a squad of 10, that's 2 mortals.
And it's not like it's on a 6-up, do it. 5-ups. Pretty good, really.
Yeah.
And if you happen to fight against units with 10, then you could take out half the unit without rolling crazy.
Yeah.
Well.
Slightly above average.
Yeah.
And again, on a 3+, should get it off more often than not.
So it's within 12. Maybe that's what we're saying. Maybe you do need to send him up the board, because you don't want him at the back of the board not able to do it. It is obviously a shame he won't be able to do it in the first battle round if you go first. I'm thinking send him up with the Liberators, because they both move 5. And then if they decide to ignore him and go for the Liberators, great, because they'll come back and they can come back into that same combat and maybe just replenish themselves.
Yep.
Or if they go in for him, great, the Liberators are there with their control squad trying to take that objective. So I don't think that's a bad unit to send around as a tandem together.
Obviously, it does then kind of make you a little limited on trying to take objectives, unfortunately, and you do struggle with control score. Moving on to the Prosecutors. So you get a 12-inch move, so very mobile. 2 health each, so not bad. You got that 3+ save and 1 control score each. You get 3 models in the unit, so not a great deal of control. And 6 health is also not particularly brilliant. But obviously the 3+ save does make him a little survivable. They are flying, so that adds to the mobility really well. And they are reinforced as well. Typically when I play this, I do just turn 1, dive bomb them into whatever, and just ideally you want to kind of get the stuff at the back, like the backline wizards or like the big shooting cannon or bow or something like that, because they're not going to do a massive amount, but they should do it, or if at the very least they lock it up, and if they die, they come back.
I don't think I've ever played against anyone with this army that hasn't just charged them up first turn. It's however long they survive is a different matter, but the fact that they're reinforced means that is their perfect thing. Unless you end up with a card that you want that unit in enemy territory, not in combat or back edge, moving them up, shooting them in and charging them.
Yeah, I think you summed that up perfectly. Unless there's something that you need their mobility for, probably just try and get some early damage, you can bring them back. Moving on to the combat profiles, they do have a ranged attack, which is pretty nice. It's 10 inches, plus with your 12 movement, that's a 22 effective range, so they're probably getting most of the board. They get 1 attack each, so 3 dice, 3s and 3s, rend 1, but it's D3 damage. Typically, you probably do nothing with this. It's just a nice little option that they've got. Their combat attacks, the Stormcast Javelin, they get 3 attacks each. 3s to hit, 3s to wound.
I'm sick of that by now.
Yeah. Rend 1, damage 1. So as I was saying earlier, a pretty consistent combat unit, but they can only do 9 damage. They're probably not going to wipe a unit, unfortunately.
I mean, they're a nice, troublesome unit to hang around.
Yeah.
If they do go in, do a bit of damage, and then you lose 2, or maybe even 1 in a bit, and then you kind of retreat them, and if they die, great, you bring them back, and if not, they just move somewhere and just annoy. They're quite a good unit for that.
It's a bit of a weird passive, but the unit has a cohesion range of 2, basically just because the wings are really awkward.
You think that's the reason?
Well, yeah, you can't stand them next to each other. That's the main reason, let's face it.
Because that is quite a good ability to have when you think that you might want to be in combat but touching an edge of an objective.
Yeah.
Suddenly, because their bases are not that small.
No, that probably makes the whole squad length probably about 7 or 8 inches, maybe 9.
I would have thought more, yeah. I think you can have 2, so that's 4 inches of just distance between them. So whatever their bases are.
Probably 2 inches each, yeah, so maybe 10 then.
Yeah, that's a long way of covering. It might be that you're trying to block someone from bringing their reinforced unit in, or them using Speed of Death and putting it there. They could take up a large amount of the boards for that.
True. Their other passive is they get 3d6 on a charge, which is a very good ability. It means that if you're 3 away, you're guaranteed to get in. I mean, realistically, anything under 5 is a pretty solid guarantee. I don't want to say that because I guarantee next time I have a 3d6, I'll roll 3 ones. But it also means that when that unit gets reinforced, still got a really good chance that you'll be able to get it into combat to something. Because it's an 18-inch, 6 of a board edge. Most stuff will be close.
Yeah.
They get back into the fight really quickly again. Now, the main bulk of your army, this is literally 50% of your army, is your Liberators. They move 5, 2 health, 3+ save, 1 control score, and you have 5 models in the unit. So a 10 health, 3+ save unit going around. Not a terrible little tanky unit. Potentially give it a 5-up ward. Probably the best thing about them, though, is obviously their attacks, because they get 2 attacks each, but 4 of them are equipped with Warhammers, and 1 of them is equipped with a Grand Hammer. They have the same profile, so 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, but the Warhammers are only 1 damage and the Grand Hammer's 2. So they're potentially, again, they're doing 12 damage, maxed out. So unlikely.
I mean, they are crit mortals.
They are crit
so
mortals.
If they just rolled all 6s with their hits, then they are, if they're not got a ward, then they are just doing that. Obviously, it's not going to happen.
No.
But
I think the fact that they're crit mortals, like you say, you are rolling typically 10 dice with them. You should get a few crit mortals through. And for an army that is a bit on the lower damage and do struggle against good saving armies, because nothing outside of the hero has particularly brilliant rend. Everything only has 1. The fact that you've got that little bit of crit mortals covers a gap that the army kind of lacks. They are reinforced as well, so they get to come back, which is always nice. And their 1 ability, Star Wall Defenders, add 3 to this unit's control score while it's contesting an objective wholly within friendly territory.
So again, I feel like that kind of goes with the, you have your Lord Vigilant, and these stay at the back as a group fighting that, so they get the bonus of that ability. Because the best thing about that ability is you have 1 of them left, that's 4 control score. Yeah. Along with your priest, that's 6.
That's not bad.
That's going to hold a lot of objectives.
And then your priest's going to spike and do 12 damage.
Can he do the same amount as that unit?
Yeah. And a better rend characteristic if it's fighting a wizard.
That's pretty crazy.
And that's sort of the army. I think it's a very good beginner friendly, because it does a lot of stuff, but all of it's pretty easy to figure out.
I mean, I'd say the most complicated part is kind of the fact that the attack's there. You've got to read that to make sure you know what has it got. Because I could see people going, "Oh, I get both of those attacks like I do with the Lord Vigilant." So I think bits like that, but I feel like that's when you learn it, isn't it? It's that you play that and then someone will go, "No, that's not how it works." Then you'll learn how to do it properly.
The other kind of thing about the army is they aren't the most killing, and you do have to roll well. So if your opponent can hamper you and they can give you minuses to hits or wounds or anything like that, then actually really does affect this army quite negatively, and it drops them off quite quickly. As daft as it sounds, you go, well, I'm only going from a 3 to a 4. That's actually quite a big drop.
Yeah, and the fact you've not got many dice means you can just have a combat where you don't roll that many 4-ups and suddenly you've not done the damage that you needed to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's one as well, as much as it is reinforced, if you kill the general and one of those units is off the board waiting to come back, they've not got many models there left.
Yeah, you'll struggle to hold objectives. If there's just armies that can kind of run circles around them quite well, you sort of, like Duncan said, you kind of need to focus your units a little bit. Some armies can just run around you and avoid you, and those armies then potentially normally have some kind of tricks to just do a little bit of damage at you. And unfortunately, while you look at that and you kind of look at everything on paper and go, oh, it seems like a really, really good army. And we're not saying it's not. It's not the worst army in the world. If I was to rank it, I would probably put it top of middle.
We do have a rating that we give for the army out of 5 for its aesthetics, how it was to build and paint. For a change, I haven't got anything to do with this one at all. This was all you.
So, fun fact, I didn't technically build this as the Spearhead. I built the Scaventide box, which I got on release date, and then I built the whole box in about 11 hours.
Did you do that? Because I remember they had a Warhammer World thing where you could go at midnight and open it and then build it in the store overnight. And you were like, I can't go to that, but I'll just see if I could have built it in that time anyway.
Yeah, I think so. That, and I collected Skaven Warhammer of the old world fantasy a decade ago. If anything, I was more excited for the Skaven. But anyway, getting back to it. So they were pretty quick to build, because the majority of that build time was the Skaven. So they're really easy to build. The only really fiddly model were the prosecutors and the wings, and the fact they're a little top heavy. And the fact that it's Stormcast, spray it gold. That's like 90% done. Like, you can paint them really quickly.
I've got to be honest, when they first released these models, they are stunning.
Yes.
Like, Lord Vigilant is such a nice model. And Lord Veritant as well.
Yeah.
Like, all
it's got loads of cool little details.
Yeah. And like you just said, you could kind of paint them gold and cloak and weapons and probably get away with it if you just want it on the board as quick as you can to play. But I've seen some people have painted these up and they look amazing.
Yes. It's like a weird one where there's loads of details, but because it's kind of armour, you can just do one blanket colour and a bit of shade, and you go, oh, actually, that doesn't look too bad. The only thing with the army is, obviously, you've got the cavalry hero, and he's a pretty big hero, to be fair.
Prosecutors are quite nice as well. With the wings, they sort of go above everything.
But you kind of put it next to all the other armies, and you kind of go, doesn't look like a lot. Each individual model's quite impressive, but stack them next to everything else, and they don't really look all that impressive.
They don't stand out compared to the others, definitely.
That's sort of the only thing to it. And obviously, as another thing to it is, we've said before, the main army is just dudes in armour. The Liberators, while they are impressive, they are just guys in armour. And the Prosecutors are just guys in armours with, wings.
I slightly disagree, because I do think they at least these models stand out from the Stormcast range.
Yeah.
If you look at them next to Annihilators or the old Liberators, that these feel like a little bit more personality, a little bit more not just gold, if that makes sense. That's what these kind of look to me.
I would give it probably a 3.5.
Oh, I'm leaning for a 4.5 because of the fact there's 10 models, so you can get it up on the table really quick. It's not going to take you the time. They are, again, I didn't make them, but I imagine that they weren't too painful.
They were very quick and easy.
Because the new molds tend to be pretty good, pretty easy, fit together nice. And the fact that you have got some standout models there, that if I was to list my top 10 models in Spearhead, Lord Vigilant might be up there for me. I really like him.
Split the difference on a 4 then?
I think a 4 is pretty fair. Yeah. On for our second category, which is playability, competitiveness, fun. Out of 5.
Out of 5. I mean, I already tipped my hat a little bit by saying they were top of middle. While they're really beginner friendly, I do think that sometimes they kind of have the issue that everyone's played them. So many people have got them. If you were to probably look at the statistics of which Spearheads owned the most, I would bet this one's in the top. So everyone's played it, so everyone knows its tricks. So that does kind of hurt you a little bit.
Yeah. I think in terms of fun, you'll have fun because you have something to do in a lot of phases. You've got shooting, you've got movement, you've got combat, you've got reinforced units, so you're not going to be off the table in 2 battle rounds and not have fun. So, and you're consistent with your roles. So I think you're going to have fun with this army. I wouldn't personally take it to a competition that I wanted to win.
No.
So I think obviously if we're looking for competitiveness, I think that's got to knock it down a bit because I do think some armies hard counter it with their ability to do mortals and their board presence. And I think it will struggle against some middling armies as well. It should do well against armies that haven't got a lot of rend and can't do much damage themselves, and maybe armies with not great saves. But as we typically tend to find, those are the lower range armies that if you're taking to a competition, not many people will take them in the first place.
So what you're basically saying is it beats all the bad ones and struggles against all the good ones.
Yes. And I mean, can give a good game to some of them, but if my life depended on these winning against certain armies, I'm worried for my life. That's how I'd sort of look at it.
I would say a 3.
I would say a 3. I think better than a 2.5. I mean, because we were actually having this conversation before we were recording, saying, where does this class? Is this a first wave or a second wave? Because we've typically tended to find the first wave is stronger, the second wave haven't been. But obviously this is a really funny one, because this came at exactly the same time, but the Yanastra Spearhead that was the Vanguard box was kind of I would class as the original Stormcast one.
Yes.
So if you're comparing this with the second wave, can't even call it new wave because there's a third wave now. If you're classing this in the second wave, it's
probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, higher of all of them, I would have thought. But if you are just classing this as the first one, it's probably to the lower end of it.
That is the Stormcast Vigilant Brotherhood.
We hope you've enjoyed this All Our AOS Presents Tip of the Spear podcast. We do these weekly. We also have our bonus ones, which we've had a lot of recently because there's been lots of new Spearheads announced and Spearhead news. But next week we'll be going on to our Chaos one, and it will be the other half of this box, the Skaven Norfest Claw Pack. So this is episode 20, so we've done quite a lot of army reviews and also debate ones as well, where we talk all things Spearhead. If you have got any topics you would like to hear from us, you can, if you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments, and if you're listening on podcast, you can email us at alloutageofsigmar@gmail.com, and we will try and include that into our schedule of podcasts.
Yeah, outro time.
Got nothing, Robin.
We got nothing.
Got nothing. Closest thing I got was it had Blades of Glory, which made me think of Blades of Glory. And I've been watching too much of the Winter Olympics, and I was thinking of ice skating. I was just imagining your army on ice skates sliding around.
You know, it would be quite funny if the third Stormcast Spearhead doesn't hit or wound on 3s. It hit and wounds on 4s.
I mean, maybe that's when there's Destruction Stormcast. I was worried you were going to say, oh, it'll be funny when the next one is just Brondith.